we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the Insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber. This is Derrick Evans. We've survived another day. We're another day closer to Trump's inauguration, and the fires are just completely out of control in Southern California.
I would actually say that California in general is out of control. Goodness gracious, we got a lot to cover there. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe, all those good things. If you're watching live, hop in the chat. We'll read them all, and we'll do our very best to give you guys a shout-out, kind of like this. We got Sean in the Getter chat. We got Kelly Song in the Rumble chat, and then we've got Thaddeus and Kristen over in my chat, and already over in the Ex-American News chat, we got Andres and Michael. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
The things are kicking off early, and the media, the left, everybody else is extremely upset that the Joe Rogan interview with President Trump, there's a portion of that that's now circulating because Trump talked about exactly what's going on now in California and gave a solution to fix it. Flashback, Trump told Rogan conditions in California were ripe for devastating wildfires due to poor water and forest management. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and play the clip from this real quick to refresh everybody's memories.
They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why don't you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. I could have water for all of that land. Water for your forests. You know, your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You know, you could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, you know, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. And all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the dead fall.
And get rid of the trees that have fallen that are like.
Yeah, seems like a pretty common sense solution. I think it was the government of Finland also chimed in and kind of basically said, we're a forest nation. And the reason we don't have these out of control wildfires burning down our cities is because they do manage the forest. And actually, it's kind of interesting. They take all the debris there and then they burn it as biomass to create electricity. And then they also use other portions for, farming and fertilizer, for building and creating a variety of products. So not only will it prevent your cities from burning down, but it's also a useful industry that employs people.
Absolutely. Shout out to Caroline for Congress, Carol and Jagger over here in the X chat as well. Look, these people who are pushing these initiatives, they do not even care about the environment. They don't care about the Delta smelt. That's the little fish that they're talking about, the Delta smelt. They don't care about that fish, but they care about using that fish to push their climate tyranny on the people in California. That's what this is all about at the end of the day. It's a form of tyranny. This is climate change terrorism. This is eco-terrorism. That's what we're seeing taking place over here. And then, to be honest with you, who was it? Jagger says, it's a seeming like Maui 2.0. They're clearing for future cities. And,
Yep.
we were talking about that off air a second ago. Is that I wonder if there are already plans for a smart city there in the area that has been destroyed. What a coincidence that would be. The whole thing is just sad. And it could be prevented, but they are worshiping at the altar of climate change to the detriment of human beings.
Yeah, I wonder how many 15-minute cities they can fit in the LA Metroplex once it all burns down. Because I'm sure that's what they're looking at right now, chomping at the bit. Yeah, you're right. Limiting what people can do, how much energy they can consume, thus limiting their quality of life. Because that's the major determinant factor now today is access to energy as much as it is finance and other things. If you don't have electricity, you're sitting in the dark at night, or you don't have power to build heavy industry, other things. But again, like we know what their real goals are. We also had this post from Trump on Truth Social. One of the best and most beautiful parts of the United States of America is burning down to the ground. It's ashes, and Gavin Newsom should resign. This is all his fault. So that's the other thing that's sending.
Hold on, leave it up there for a second. He says Gavin Newscom, just to be
Newscom. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, my brain auto corrected that. But yeah. Then the other thing that's sending the people in the media just apoplectic right now. They can't believe he'd have the audacity to call out Governor Newsom during this crisis and all the great personal tragedy. Yeah, well, their side exploits every tragedy they can to try to further their political agenda. And again, he's just stating the obvious.
Yeah, well, shout out to Dan Dreyer in the Rumble chat and FG in the Getter chat. Man, we got some really good comments coming in right now as well. So I'm just going to read some of them because it goes into what we're talking about right now. Daniel Abbey says Newsom is the most incompetent governor in history. Brent, who's our Canadian viewer on a regular basis, hey Brent, says, I thought third world countries only had a water shortage, but now I see it in California. I was shocked this morning. Well, Brent, I want to clarify that this is a manufactured water shortage. They don't have a water shortage. If they would let the water flow freely through the state of California, they would not have a water shortage. This has all been manufactured. As President Trump had alluded to, that they're routing the water back out into the ocean to protect. Well, they're doing it because they're just who they are, but they're claiming they're doing it to protect some little fish. And to be honest with you, I just could say it. I don't really care. Look, if that fish goes extinct, look, it would suck. But I mean, if it's to the betterment of human beings, then so be it. It's a tiny fish. I'm sure that they could take some of those and put them in a stream somewhere. I don't know, West Virginia or somewhere. I'm sure that the Delta smelt could live on, maybe just not right there in that immediate area. So it's all ridiculous. And then they don't catch the rainwater there in California either. It's illegal for residents to catch rainwater. It's illegal for farmers to build ponds and such. I mean, this whole thing has been 100% manufactured from that standpoint. Carol says this is Project 2030, which I agree with.
Yep.
And then who was it? Man, I just saw a really good. It's Caroline for Congress says. You just mentioned this, Mike. So they're bashing Governor Newsom, and all these people have blamed Trump for politicizing this event. And I wanted to say that before I said Caroline for Congress mentions that they even mentioned the climate just now at former President Carter's funeral. So here they are at his funeral, and they're using this as an opportunity to push their climate change terrorism to the world.
Yeah, well, again, this kind of demonstrates a larger problem with our media in general is the double standard. They're happy to politicize things a certain direction, but the minute somebody on our side says something, they pretend to call it out and, clutch their pearls. But yeah, this fire spread even further overnight. It's now up in the Hollywood Hills. I guess there's a fire started right by the Hollywood sign. I don't know if that's burned down yet. Over 130,000 have had to evacuate. Studio City's on fire. And some good friends of the program that live in that area. Dr. Jamie Glazov and a number of others live right there in Studio City. And this is only going to continue to intensify as as the winds continue. They have this fire, last I saw, is 0% contained in most areas. I guess in Lydia, California, they said it was about 30% contained, but it's going to continue to spread. They're going to continue to have these high winds and the water shortage, everything else. So if you're in LA, I'd start moving to safety now, even if your area is not under mandatory or voluntary evacuations yet. Get out while you still can. So we also had this yesterday. LA Mayor Karen Bass stunned as reporter absolutely skewers her over failed policies, dry fire hydrants. Then she runs away like a coward. And actually, I've got this video, so I'm going to play this here real quick.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up, please? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
Well, that's enough of that. You can see this coward run off, refused to answer questions, zero accountability. And then she went after Ted Cruz like crazy when he was out of town when they had the power outage and the storm down in Texas. But again, there is no accountability for them. I'm sure she just can't believe this reporter's audacity to actually ask her real questions about it.
Absolutely. Well, Kristen in the chat said this is how they Trump-proofed their state, which is hilarious because they've been talking about that. But here's the thing: she cut the budget by over the fire department budget by over $17 million. They fired hundreds of experienced firefighters because they had refused to take the COVID vaccine at the time. And now they're out here complaining and saying that that they need firefighters. Well, maybe you should have thought about that before you terminated people for their beliefs at the end of the day because they refused to take a vaccine. At the end of the day, look, the whole city is burning down, but at least they have banned plastic straws, so it's all okay. It's fun. And then Foxtradamus had an awesome quote over here about this. Climate change is what I call an unattainable political goal. It's the religion of the Democrat cult, and they get to cry and scream forever because it can never be accomplished. It creates professional victims. And that is so true, and the best way of summing up this whole thing, this cult of climate change.
Yeah, the modern Democrat Party has dual idols of Gaia, Mother Earth, climate change, whatever you want to call it, and transing your kids, and abortion. That's the sacrament of the left, is to murder your children at the altar of Planned Parenthood and sacrifice them for climate change to make the world a better place, and so more women can be girl bosses. But that's become their calling. It's not about making America better, making us stronger, or anything else. It's not about different ways of looking at the same goals. They are anti-human. They are pro population control. They want to depopulate the planet for Mother Earth, and this is how they achieve that, through transing your kids, through sacrificing their own children. And through legislation like this that causes death and destruction throughout our country. And we got more. There's blame to go around, though. It isn't just the mayor. First lesbian fire chief of LA, super inspired about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So one of her main priorities, I guess I should have grabbed this clip too, but I didn't, was bringing more women on to fight fires, because there were only 115 women in LA's fire department. Well, I imagine part of this is just the physical requirements to be a firefighter. Like, you have to be able to carry somebody out while you're wearing all your equipment, of a burning building. And, a woman that's 110 pounds is going to have a lot of difficulty doing that. So it's going to, for obvious physical reasons, because men and women are different, there are going to be far more male firefighters. But you better not be a white guy that applies. Adam Carolla had a great video he put out about this, and I've heard him talk about it before. He really wanted to be a firefighter. He applied when he was in LA. They told him to come back in 7 years, so he went and worked construction. Finally, 7 years later, he gets a letter to come down and apply. He's standing in line next to, I think it was a black woman. So he asked her, like, how long it had been since she applied. She said, Wednesday. Well, he had waited, 7 years for the same opportunity. And when you're using DEI as a determining factor for who you're going to put in place for basic public safety, you're making some very, very bad decisions, and this is the consequences of that.
Well, wanted to give a shout out to Sean in the Getter chat, who reminded us that the paper straws still come in plastic wrappers.
Yes, my favorite part.
Yes. But back to this. Look, this whole thing is ridiculous. They have prioritized DEI over public safety. I don't think that anybody, for this matter, not just people in California, but nobody cares what your gender is. There's only two genders. Don't care which one of them you are. We don't care who you're sleeping with. We don't care about any of those things. If you're applying to be a firefighter, can you fight fires? That's the extent of it. That's it. Point. Period. Yeah. That's the end of it. I don't care what color your skin is. We don't care who you're sleeping with. We don't care, who you worship to. If you're applying to be a firefighter, the only question we need to know is, can you fight fires? And that's it. And, this DEI initiative stuff, I mean, I guess anybody could fight fires under the current circumstances in California, which is there's no water. And you just apparently stand there and watch everything burn down. So I guess under those, circumstances, anybody could be a firefighter, because they're doing nothing right now except watching it happen. I feel sorry for the people who are, even those who have voted for this. I feel sorry for them. And somebody in the chat earlier had brought it up, and I don't remember who it was. It's too far up to go follow and find it. But basically, it's like, have the people of California learned a lesson yet? And I, as a whole, I doubt it. But I guarantee you that a lot of people have had their eyes opened up, who have been affected by this. I guarantee you there's a large portion of them who are, for the first time, unfortunately, learning this the hard way. And I don't take any joy in knowing that. I really don't. I wish that there would an easier way for them to have learned this lesson. But I am nonetheless happy that some of them are obviously waking up and seeing everything for the reality that it is.
Yeah, they are starting to wake up. There's another video that was going around of a Hispanic guy was talking to the reporters. He called it out exactly, that it was DEI, and that's why this is happening, that they don't care about the people in the city and the consequences of their actions. What they care about is that press conference. Yeah, anybody can be a firefighter when it's just a cosplay, when you don't have to actually do the job, when you just have to stand there and I guess do some traffic control and watch the city burn and go talk to the media about it. When the hard part of actually fighting fires is impossible because there's no water. Yeah, anybody can do it. We've got more blame to spread, though. Fire and Fury, overpaid bureaucrat responsible for filling up fire hydrants in LA County, rakes in $750,000 a year. The city's highest paid employee. Again, as usual, you see the left always rewards failure. The more useless you are, the more money you'll make and the more opportunities you'll have. You will always fail upwards if you're on the left, whereas I'd like to say, primarily we do have at least some level of accountability on the right. If you're an utter failure, you're not going to be there too long unless the deep state props you up and just keeps putting you back in office or back in power for other reasons, because you're a useful tool to them. But yeah, this is the woman whose responsibility it is to make sure the firefighters have the tools they need to protect the citizens of Southern California. But I guess that wasn't a priority. Oh yeah, I want to go back to something to our viewer in Canada. I want to say thank you to America's Hat, because right now they're sending down aid and firefighting equipment, including planes, hoses, and other things to help support the efforts down there, because LA doesn't have what they need to fight the fires.
Well, I mean, as the 51st state, they should be sending us help over here. I mean, but I want to give a shout out to Ramato and Project Freedom in the X chat. And then Foxtradamus said, apparently the more boxes they check, the more money they receive. And then I was laughing a second ago because Sean in in the Getter chat said the top 3 DEI hires in LA Fire Department together could not put out a cigarette. And apparently that seems to be true. I cannot believe that they're paying someone $750,000 per year to ensure that the fire hydrants are full of water. And then I think I'm even more mind blown that there's someone who has that job getting paid $750,000 a year to do something as simple as making sure that the fire hydrants are filled up with water, and they are not full of water at a time such as this. That is the even more crazy part. Like, what have you been doing to earn this money? I believe that we are crossing over the line between negligence and potential criminal activity going on here. And you have to wonder, is there some money laundering schemes going on? Is there potential RICO here? Since that's the left's favorite thing to do and talk about. So you do have to wonder that. And then I think that we also, this is all encompassing, not just the fires in California, but the attacks in New Orleans and Las Vegas and all this. I think that we have to at least consider the possibility and at least ask the question, have the sleeper cells that are in the United States of America, are they being activated right now? Because I have to think that some of these fires are started. Well, there's video of some of these fires being started by arsonists right now as well. There's some videos came out late last night of some additional fires that are happening right now. So you have to wonder, I mean, have the sleeper cells been activated right now and just to cause chaos in our country?
Well, actually, you bring up a really good point because, and I was trying to remember if it was Al-Qaeda or Hamas or Hezbollah or which of these Islamic terrorist groups had actually talked about using starting fires in wilderness areas around cities as a method to cause chaos and, again, perform the terrorism and again, this would be highly effective. It would be something easy to do where you could have one person driving around setting fires around a city in a wooded area, and it'd be very hard to catch that person unless you got out ahead of them or found them on surveillance or whatever, but the damage would already be done. I'll go do this woman's job for half price, $325,000. You guys can save a lot of money in LA, and I'll actually make sure there's water to fight the fires. I mean, it's pathetic right now that these fire trucks are having to go around, borrow garden hoses from residents around LA and fill up their the water tanks on their fire trucks because the hydrants are running dry. Guys, we got to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with even more.
Attention business owners and entrepreneurs, Patriot TV is launching a brand new TV series showcasing American-made products, and your business could be featured. Whether you sell your products online on Etsy or Shopify and dream of reaching millions of viewers on smart TVs like Samsung, Sony, TCL, and LG, or apps like Roku, Android, and Apple TV, this is your chance. We're searching for US-based businesses offering all types of products and services proudly made in the USA. If you've ever wanted to showcase your products on TV like QVC or the Home Shopping Network, now's your opportunity. Support our American economy, grow your business, and be seen by loyal Patriot viewers across the country. Know someone with a business or have a business yourself? Don't miss out. Contact us at supportingpatriots.com today. Be a guest on this new exciting TV series. Let's put your American-made products in the spotlight.
Behind the power.
Vladimir Putin will remain in office until 2036.
Beneath the secrecy.
You'll be the most powerful man in the world.
Is the real story that defies reality. Putin is being called bold.
What's your strategy? Bring them back to the Stone Age.
Chilling. You won't be able to look away.
How can his kingdom last?
Putin, rated R, in select theaters January 10th.
Hey folks, it's your buddy John Rich here and co-founder of Old Glory Bank. Let me ask you a question. Why would you trust your banking with people that hate you? Well, you shouldn't. We're building a freedom economy, and now we have a pro-America bank. It's called Old Glory Bank. Check it out at oldglorybank.com and open yourself an account today.
Old Glory Bank is a full-service, FDIC-insured online bank with business and consumer banking and customers in all 50 states. It takes just 8 minutes to open an account at oldglorybank.com.
Thank you for staying with us, and the best way to support our program and all the programs on Patriot TV is by supporting our sponsors. You can go to patriot.tv, grab yourself some tickets for Putin, see that over the weekend. Again, if you're banking with someplace that hates you and hates your values, switch to someplace like Old Glory Bank that will support you and support American conservatism. Well, unfortunately, we're still not done with California, because we do have a confirmation now that State Farm canceled hundreds of Pacific Palisades homeowners policies before this devastating wildfire strikes. And a big part of this is because of the forest mismanagement. They looked at the risk in the area, determined the amount of money coming in on the policies would not be enough to cover a disaster when it took place, and the likelihood of that went up more and more and more over the last 5 years. And they decided the risk was too great. I don't know if there's a conspiracy. Some people are saying that it's conspiracy that they canceled all these policies, but I'm really not so sure. Because, again, if the risk gets too high where they can't charge enough to offset it, it's a poor business decision for them to continue to operate within that area.
Yeah, well, I'll give a quick shout out to Dan Dreyer. He was asking earlier, he wonders who is lined up as the prospective buyers of this area, because once again, I think we do have to take into consideration that it's very possible that this was a way to roll out the Smart City Initiative and all that stuff in this area, as we've seen in other places. This thing with State Farm, when I first heard about it, I was like, man, that's crazy. That sounds wild. But when you really think about it more, they are professionals at risk mitigation. They know that California has not done a good job of managing these things. The fires have gotten more and more out of hand. And I would say that they kind of looked at the situation and was like, this is not something we want to be a part of. And from my understanding, they canceled them back over the summer. So the people had plenty of time to, find another insurance. It's not like they did it, a week before this happened. That would be even crazier if that was the case. But I think that you have to take into consideration. I think it's even more crazy that State Farm was able to look at the situation and say, hey, something's not adding up here. This is too risky. But the elected officials who live there could not come up with that same conclusion on their own.
Yeah, and I know that it is circulating out there that some of these policies were canceled within the last few weeks, but the process started months and months and months ago. I think some of them were over a year ago. But the fact remains, like you said, they saw the problem. I'm sure they've also worked with elected officials there to try to solve this before it did create a disaster. But there was clearly no action, no movement on that. And at the end of the day, they have to look at their total business, all their customers around the country. They can't go out of business because of poor decisions made by a local government in one area. And again, people think insurance companies make just gobs and gobs of money. Their profit margins are actually pretty slim for most of them, 2 to 4%. So it isn't about just charging more either, because they couldn't charge enough to make it worthwhile for them to stay in business there. They'd be shelling out. I mean, they're already talking that the damage to LA could be, $50 to $75 billion in damage just from this fire. And there's no way an insurer has the resources to offset something like that.
Absolutely. I'm going to give some shout outs to some people in the comments who have not found their way to the live chat, but they're still watching the show. We got Ken the Bear fan. This is on my X over here on, I keep want to say X on Twitter, but X. We got Ken the Bear fan. We got Y3533. We got Round the World. We got Jacqueline, Donald, Jay No, Benny, and Steepa. So appreciate you guys for tuning in as well, even though you're not in the live chat there. But yeah, this is this whole thing, and somebody brought it up. Around the World says that I think this was done intentionally. And to be honest with you, I think that we have to consider that as a very real possibility, not only as a real possibility, as probably the most likely scenario until proven otherwise, as far as I'm concerned. You also have to wonder if there's some weather manipulation involved in terms of this high of winds that are being sustained for multiple days in a row like this. I'm not saying that it is, but you have to at least consider the possibility of some weather manipulation who are doing this, because nobody's going to convince me that what happened in North Carolina was not some sort of weather manipulation after everything we've seen. And then we also know the fire situation in Maui, how magically everybody with the blue roofs were protected. And so you just, I don't know. There's a lot of things that need to be answered, and nothing would surprise me at this point.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, Joe Biden announces another $500 million in military aid to Ukraine as California burns, because that's the solution for every time there's a disaster in America. We send more money to Ukraine. He also interrupted himself during the press conference to let everybody know he's now a great grandfather, apparently. Well, congratulations on that one, I guess. But yeah, California's burning down. So clearly the only thing we can do to solve that is send another $500 million to Ukraine as Biden crawls out the door.
$500 million to Ukraine, $40 million per week to the Taliban. I did not misspeak. Your tax dollars are going and paying $40 million per week to the Taliban. People in Hawaii, people in North Carolina, people in California. Here's a $750 loan that you can pay us back. There you go. Congratulations.
It's not tax deductible either, guys.
Yes. I mean, that's where we're at right now. And they wonder why they are not only losing elections, but getting crushed in elections right now. That would be the obvious reason as to why.
Yeah, no kidding. You'd think somebody would have mentioned the even just the optics alone on this to announce the aid, at the same press conference. Oh yeah, sorry, people out in Southern California. Sorry you're losing your homes. There's wildfires everywhere, but suck it up, pick up a part-time job, because Zelensky needs another handout. We're going to send him $500 million, and maybe when Trump gets in, maybe he'll do something to help you guys in California. In the meantime, good luck, and follow your evacuation orders.
Absolutely. That's it's a total slap in the face of the American people. I'm not personally affected by the fire. I live in West Virginia, but I am absolutely, quite frankly, I'm pissed off, and I get mad every time I even look at it when we're sending all this money to Ukraine, Taliban, whoever else, while our own people, our own American citizens are hurting right now and need help. And to top it all off, FEMA is not only out of money, they've been out of money even before the North Carolina situation, because they spent $25 million specifically. They've done this multiple places, but in San Diego alone, they spent $25 million to build a migrant welcome center for the illegals there in California. And now they don't have money to help these people who have lost everything in this fire. And I guarantee you it's going to be like the Chicago warming centers where only the illegals can use it. So I bet you these people who are now homeless, I bet if they went to that migrant welcome center to seek shelter, they'd be turned away because they're actual U.S. citizens and not illegals. They won't be able to use those facilities. This is the most despicable thing. And then I was reading another article, L.A. or San Diego, whatever that area had passed something at the local level where they are funding illegals to the tune of $300,000 and something per week. But that they don't have money to help their own people. Yeah.
$300,000 per week to help the illegal aliens, but no water for your fire hydrants. Good luck out there. Maybe you guys should just go over the border the other way to Mexico, and they'll do a better job taking care of you, because it certainly seems like the governor of California and the mayor of LA, they want to burn their city down. They seem to not want you there, or at least not want things to be very comfortable. But guys, somebody did solve the problem. We know exactly what caused this now. Radical left-wing Code Pink links California wildfires to Gaza conflict in unhinged protests. Genocide is ecocide. So apparently, if Gaza was free and Israel wasn't going after Hamas after the October 7th attacks, everything would be just fine. California would not be on fire. Apparently, it's all Gaza's fault.
You cannot even make this up at this point as to how crazy these people are, because that's what they are. They're crazy. There's no other way to explain it at this point. They live in an alternate reality separate from the rest of the world. It's kind of fascinating from a serial killer standpoint of fascination, not from like an awesome fascination. It really is. It's like, you watch a documentary on some serial killer and you're like, I mean, that's fascinating. It's crazy and out there, but that's how I view these people at this point. They are fascinating creatures from a terrible standpoint.
Yeah, it's very interesting to watch their full-blown mental illness on display, and just some of the things, like, I can't believe that someone else in the organization didn't stop them from saying this publicly. Oh, wait a minute, they all believe it. I'm sure they'll have Greta Thunberg out there next saying the same thing, that the wildfires are due to the apartheid in Israel, or whatever it was that little gremlin wanted to say last time, the climate potato. Well, and some cities do know how to handle fires and fix the problem when it occurs. Massive fire erupts after power station explosion in North Fort Worth, Texas, triggers voluntary evacuations. But you know why we're not seeing this all over the news now this morning? Well, that's because they were able to put the fire out last night. But again, that's what happens when you have water for your fire hydrants and you're hiring the best people for the job, not the left-handed pansexual leprechaun to go carry buckets of water they filled from the neighbor's hose up to the roof to pour on to put out the fire.
Absolutely. Well, quick shout out to Dave Sanders, who's in the comments, not in the live chat, but in the comments. Appreciate you for tuning in as well, Dave. And Dave says, the LA fires proves that leadership matters. Citizens need to pay attention to who they elect. California is an example of epic failure. And, we've touched on that a little bit throughout the show, which I think is really good to continue driving home that point. And then, as you said, a perfect example of, what's going on there in Texas compared to California. And then also, people forget this. A lot of people, probably before they were even born, but Florida used to deal with a lot of wildfires as well, up through like the 80s and even through the 90s, I think. But they've taken steps to mitigate those things and to prevent those things and to, and so they don't deal with those anymore. I don't think they've had a major one since the late 80s at this point. But they used to have major ones just like Florida does. And look, there's even less cost. There's even more cost-effective ways to do this than using heavy machinery to come in there and rake that would, if they want to do that, that's fine. But just do controlled burns. Find an opportunity when the wind is not exactly crazy the way it is, and you come in and you do controlled burns and burn those materials out of there. I mean, that's what nature does. The nature is doing what it does right now, and that's what we're witnessing. That's what the natives did. I mean, this is what happened for tens of thousands of years, and that is the way to build fire breaks. You might have to knock down a couple trees in the process of doing that, but build fire breaks in there to where something happens, it's going to be contained more closely to that same area. So there's so many things that they could do out there that they are just refusing to do because of the climate change terrorism that's taken place. And Foxtradamus, has corrected us, and he's correct. Professional victims, call it what it is from now on, because that's exactly what these people are, as professional victims.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens when our colleges are basically just churning out people with grievance studies degrees rather than something that's actually useful. Everybody wants to be a professional victim, and that's always the reason they failed, not because of their ability or their dedication or anything else. We're going to go ahead and shift gears, though, while California continues to smolder. Suddenly, the Federal Reserve concerned about inflation. Federal Reserve officials sound inflation warning over Trump's policies. Not Bidenflation, not what's gone on for the last 4 years. No, now they're concerned there might be some tariffs. And again, Trump's been in office before. We had record low inflation while Trump was in office the last time. Not record high like it's been for the last 4 years. So this doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And unfortunately, it does highlight something that Trump really is going to have to go to war with the Federal Reserve when he takes office. He asked this guy to step down. He was refusing, and they're going to use monetary policy to try to sabotage Trump and thus sabotage the United States in the process and the world. So when you have somebody like this, again, that's working against our interest, they've got to go. really the Federal Reserve needs to go. They need an audit and an enema.
Well, there's only one answer to this whole Federal Reserve situation, and I think we all know that answer. It's 3 simple words: end the Fed. That's it. That's the answer. Is end to this corruption. Get back to a monetary system that is backed by something physical, such as gold. It's worked for tens of thousands of years. That's what we got to get back to. When this guy stood up there and said that he did not answer to the president of the United States of America, that should concern everyone. I mean, a lot of us already knew this, but I think it shook a lot of normies even on this standpoint. And the answer is simple. We have to end the Federal Reserve. We have to roll back the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, which was that's a whole, if you want a rabbit hole to go down, go back and look at how the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 was implemented to begin with. The whole thing was a scam, and our country's been headed for a we've basically been under monetary tyranny ever since that point, as far as I'm concerned. Every single dollar that's printed, we owe money on that before it's even put into circulation, and it's not private, or it's not federal. They named it so good in the Federal Reserve. It's no more federal than FedEx. FedEx is Federal Express. It's a privately owned shipping company. Guess what? The Federal Reserve is a private organization ran by, how many families is it? 13?
Something like that.
It's a very small amount. The Rockefellers, the JP Morgan Chases, those sorts of people, they're the ones who control the Federal Reserve. It's not a government entity, and I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Oh, yeah. You want a good read sometime, go pick up The Creature from Jekyll Island. They'll tell you exactly how we had this system forced upon us of the Federal Reserve and the IRS for that. Well, I guess technically adding income tax to the IRS's regiment, because I think they might have already been in existence before that, but they were a tax arm on alcohol, or that might have been a change slightly after that. I can't quite remember. But anyway, unfortunately, we've got to take one more break, hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with even more.
Vladimir Putin will remain in office until 2036.
Putin is being called bold.
What's your strategy to bring them back to the Stone Age?
Daring. You won't be able to look away.
How can his kingdom last?
Putin. Rated R. In select theaters January 10th.
Hi, fellow patriots. How are you today? No, really, how are you? If you're looking for a way to energize, depuff, revitalize your skin, and maybe soothe some sore muscles, look no further than the Patriot TV store and the Nu Skin Renew Spa IO system. This is not your basic body massaging system. Nuh-uh. This has adaptive microcurrent technology that goes through these wonderful nodes on the bottom to really get in there. When you use it, you feel it just gently tickling in there and massaging everything. It's marvelous. And not only do you get the device, you also get a free tube of the special conductive gel to go with it. So there you are. You can depuff, you can revitalize, energize, and not only that, contour, firm, and tone. And we all want that. So go to the Patriot TV store now and get yours today from Nu Skin, the Renew Spa IO system.
Every day, they put their lives on the line. In the line of duty, in the line of fire. They're protectors, police, firefighters, the military, border patrol agents. They protect us, so Old Glory Bank is protecting them with Old Glory Protect. It's a $100,000 line of duty death benefit free with an Old Glory Bank account with direct deposit. Old Glory Protect from Old Glory Bank, protecting those who protect us.
Thank you for staying with us. If you want to support our program and all the programs on Patriot TV, just go to patriot.tv, select the Insurrection. You'll see a list of the sponsors down there below. And that's what makes it possible for us to stay on the air and bring you the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. Like this next story. Jordan Peterson drops shock statistics. 1 in 7 Pakistani Muslims in certain UK communities participated in grooming and gang rapes of underage white girls. Thousands of girls raped brutally assaulted. And I'm going to go ahead and pull the next headline because these are tied together. Breaking: as directed by failing British Prime Minister Starmer, Labour's MPs betray the children, vote to block national inquiry into grooming gang scandal. Reform UK and Tories react. So yeah, they don't want to talk about it because, again, they're one of their many gods on the left is multiculturalism, and they love bringing in cultures that hate us, cultures that are completely incompatible with Western values, and then they hide and excuse and refuse to punish them for the crimes they commit against the citizens of whatever country we're talking about. You're on mute.
Daggone, I was unmuted and muted it. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Philip Revere over here in the X chat really quick. And then Thaddeus right on cue, the United Kingdom of Islam, because that's exactly what it is. I mean, this is what happens when you import all of these people into your country. What do they expect to start happening in their streets? I mean, that's these people are doing what they do. I mean, it sucks. It's terrible. But I don't know why anybody's surprised. You know what I mean? Like they are doing what they do. This is who they are. This is what they do. This is their religion. This is what they practice on a regular basis. So what did they expect to happen when they started importing them there? And the same thing here in America. I mean, they haven't done it to that level yet here because they don't have the numbers to do so. When they get the numbers to do so, they're going to start doing the same thing here. And then I also wanted to kind of give a quick shout out. You know, I know that you and Annie have another show. And Annie is literally, in my opinion, the call a friend on everything regarding Islam. I mean, she was was she a child sex slave at one point? Did I make that up?
She was sold into slavery at 13 years old.
Annie in your show, Mike. So because if people are interested in this subject, they need to watch what you guys are putting out on this because Annie is literally a true expert. Plug her really quick and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, you can catch Annie and I every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on He Said, She Said, but also tonight on, and it'll be on X America News. I think she's doing it at 7 p.m. And I apologize if I have the wrong time, but you'll be able to see it later when it goes up. She'll have an episode of her program, Live Up to Freedom, on this evening where she's going to be honing in on this, on the recent conference in Canada, promoting a caliphate and a number of other issues going around with the Islamification of Europe, America, Canada, and the rest of the world. But I want to also underscore a point you just made. You know, what's even worse about this, you know, when there's no effort to enforce the laws for certain groups of people, they're only going to get more of that behavior. The fact of the matter is they're placating these people, that when they do these kind of things, when they rape underage girls or whatever else, and they're given a slap on the wrist or nothing at all, and instead they're protected, it sends the message that it's okay, that there's going to be even more of it. And the fact that they don't even want to investigate, that Starmer's government is blocking investigation into this after years of this abuse going on. This is what kind of brought Tommy Robinson to the forefront, was standing up against this stuff, and he's done prison time because of it, just for speaking out and pointing out the obvious truth that these people are raping and destroying the culture within the UK, and the government appears to be behind it because they worship at the altar of multiculturalism and are unconcerned with doing what's best for the British people.
Absolutely. And once again, I just want everybody to know, like Annie fled Iran. Like, she grew up there, she fled there, she came here legally, and she's one of the most patriotic people you ever meet. And so she knows all of this literally, I mean, like in and out, like to the most intricate details. So this is something you're interested in. You need to listen to her and learn, because I learn every single time from her. And honestly, like, she's concerned for our country here in America, because she knows what will happen if they, get control of that, because she's lived that. And so it's an awesome show, and I just wanted to throw that out there. And I'm concerned for us as well here. I mean, we don't know how many are actually here right now with our borders been open as long as it has been. Elon Musk has been talking a lot about what's going on in Europe specifically, as well as the birth rates in America and other places. And they're on record. I mean, that's what they're instructed to do by their religion, is to go to these areas and just over a couple generations, dominate them through population. And so that's kind of what's happening. Americans are lucky to have one to maybe 2 kids, and they're having 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 kids. It doesn't take long to do the math to realize that they're going to be the majority here in this country if some serious changes aren't made. And look, I don't care if someone wants to call me a racist or not. I don't really care. It's not racist to say that I want America to be continued going on as America. It's not about anything other than that. I want America to continue on so that my children and grandchildren can live and have the opportunities that whether they are a girl or not, have the opportunities that they currently have today. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Oh, exactly. There are 3 different points I want to make real quick on this. First Annie, like her background was, she was a child bride. She was sold into sex slavery at about 13 years old. She fled from Iran to Turkey, waited there over 2 years to eventually be allowed into the U.S. on an asylum visa. And like you said, now she's one of the premier expert on this. She speaks like 7 languages. She follows a lot of the news in the Middle East in their own tongue, and that's how she's able to report back on a lot of these things before you ever hear about them here. Now I lost my train of thought where I was going to go.
Somebody in the chat's asking her handle on X. Is it Live Up to Freedom? Is that her X account?
Yeah, it's Live Up to Freedom. Make sure to check that out, and that's where you'll find all her programs, all of her work over there. Man, I guess that brain cell died. I had something else to add to that. Oh, yeah, like what we're seeing right now in the UK, Canada, and other places, like this is jihad by immigration. And then again, this is something that they talk about within their mosques, that this is one way to participate in jihad is by moving to another country, having a bunch of kids, and gradually overtaking the culture to where you are now the dominant voice. And let's also not forget, the insanely high percentage of them that rely on the public dole, that don't work and instead are sapping benefits out from your country and not producing anything except for crime, violence, rape, and everything else. Then it's not just about it being a non-Christian or non-Jewish religion. We don't have any issue with the Hindus or the Sikhs or other people that come here, because they're here and they're perfectly peaceful. They come in, they integrate into American society, where Islam is different. It's an entirely different animal. We've got to live in the reality and treat it for what it is.
Absolutely. And I wanted to give who was it? There is no peaceful Islam from Thaddeus, which is 100% correct. Absolutely. So I want to give a quick shout out to the new Yenzer Boogeyman, I believe it is, over here in the X chat. That's a funny name. It's a good name. And so, yeah, just wanted to plug that really quick, because once again, she's the expert on this. What I love about Annie is that those on the left cannot come at her and say you don't know what you're talking about, or or any of these things. Like, she literally lived it. So like, she has the personal real experience on this. They can't even remotely attempt to attack her on this issue. And as you said, she speaks 7 different languages. She listens to and watches the news over there in the native tongue. And then so that allows her to fully understand exactly what's going on. It has connections over there, obviously, still. And so it's really incredible. And I'll be honest with you, I love seeing that Elon Musk has been talking about this issue as well over here in, with everything that's going on in Europe and the UK and everything. It's mind-blowing that in Europe right now, you can go out here and rape young girls and nothing happens to you. But if you post on X or social media complaining about the raping of young girls, then you go to prison. I mean, you can't even make this up right now. That's how crazy this whole situation is.
Oh, yeah. Again, it's so one-sided and lopsided and backwards and upside down, because they're more concerned about multiculturalism than actually doing what's right for their own people. But, I expect nothing less out of governments like this. We got just a couple stories to cover in the last few minutes, so I want to at least get to these. Former Congressman Debbie Lesko calls for comprehensive audit of entire election system in Maricopa County after being sworn in as county supervisor. Florida Secretary of State to be consulted for changes. Everybody knows how corrupt things have been in Maricopa County and in Arizona in general, and all everything they did systematically to prevent Kari Lake from assuming office twice, once as governor, another time as senator. And we need to get to the bottom of this. People need to pay the price for what happened, including the corrupt people on their Supreme Court, which refused to hear most of her complaints, even though by law within Arizona, because of numerous things that went on, the election should have been thrown out and they should have had a new election. But they don't follow their own law when it's not convenient for them. So I'll wish her well with this effort. I hope she's got a good security detail and a nice bulletproof vest, because I think the corruption in Arizona runs deep, and I think there's plenty of ties to the cartels and money laundering and a number of other things that people are not going to want any of this coming forward.
Absolutely. I'll say this is a great step in the right direction towards securing our elections there in Arizona, because obviously Maricopa County is the largest and most populated county in Arizona. I love that the people in Florida is going to be consulted on this. I know that Governor DeSantis and others had previously posted and said, hey, you guys are more than welcome. We'd be more than willing to come in and help you guys out with this, because, they cleaned up their elections significantly there in Florida. And you watched it go from a swing state / a blue state, just like Arizona is right now, to a solid red state. Part of that is people migrating there to the free state of Florida. But a lot of that is also just cleaning up the voter rolls and cleaning up the elections and those sorts of things. And I think you'll see the same thing in Arizona if they can get Maricopa County under control. So I think that's huge. And hopefully, look, they got 4 years to get it done, and 3, and hopefully they can get that done in the next 3 years.
Oh, yeah, it's something we'll definitely keep our eyes on. All right, I'm going to get to two things real quick. Well, Biden doesn't just love minors, he loves criminals. Biden confirms he's considering preemptive pardons for Liz Cheney and Anthony Fauci. Again, I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anyone, but why does the left want to subvert justice on so many people? I mean, they want to protect their idols here, Liz Cheney and Anthony Fauci, but the American people deserve the truth. So at the very least, even if Biden does these pardons, we still need investigations, hearings, and, honestly, I think they ought to just submit charges anyway and try to fight it out through the courts. Let the Supreme Court decide if preemptive pardons are legal, period, and because it's something that's never been addressed. And if not, then maybe it's time to actually investigate and prosecute these people who have clearly violated numerous laws, but our current DOJ doesn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole.
I'm probably shocked some people to say this, but because everybody knows I'm a January 6th political prisoner, and out of those two people, the Fauci thing bothers me more. I mean, it really does. Fauci deserves to be in shackles facing a jury for crimes against humanity, and needs to be criminally prosecuted for what he did to not only the country but the world. Despicable human being, and that would be the most disappointing of all, to see him weasel his way out of this.
Last thing I want to get to before we go, Fetterman's probably in danger of getting run out of D.C. by an angry mob with pitchforks and torches on the left. So think Trump acquiring Greenland is nonsense? Dem Fetterman doesn't. He's not opposed either. And if you watch the interview, it's even more interesting. He seems to think this is a good idea and would be good for America. But again, he's shown his willingness to separate himself from the Democrat monothink mob and actually do the right thing sometimes. So shout out to Lurch himself.
The only person I've ever seen who got better after a stroke, John Fetterman. Welcome to the real world, my man. I wanted to go ahead and plug once again Paul Harrell coming up next on X America News. Those of you guys watching on Twitter, or X, I should say, if you like this show, you should definitely go over and follow X America News, putting together a good team of people there who's bringing a lot of shows very similar to this. And it's very interactive the same way that this one is. And would love to see you guys over there. Our show's over there as well. And would love to see you guys hop over there in the X America News. Follow that account and watch all kinds of good content like this throughout the day.
Yeah, and stay tuned here on Patriot TV for the Hannah Faulkner Show coming up next. And this Friday at 4 p.m., we're going to have a special episode on patriot.tv. You do have to go register, sign up. You can do that. There'll be a banner right on the homepage at patriot.tv. We're going to have Brandon Strock on with us for a Q&A. And again, that's 4 p.m. this Friday. Guys, thanks again for joining us today. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. We'll be back tomorrow with even more.